What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. I was going to intro this by saying something a little bit goofy, but I opted against it. We're talking about NFL football today. Recapping.
And it's going to be a serious episode, apparently.
Oh, I'm locked in. No, I was going to open it being like, I'm Clayton Burke, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matt Spoonman and the Osh. And Matt, you're muted, but I'm sure you're spitting.
I said it would have been a step too far, but we're glad you didn't.
You know, it's not the vibe, but we're talking about some of the games that we missed from week 3 of the NFL season. We're finally going to have the Steelers conversation. That's a team that we've kind of been neglecting talking about so far this year. We'll talk about Steelers Chargers. We're going to talk about the Monday night games. And then, of course, we will preview week 4 with some of the storylines that we're most excited about entering this week of the NFL season. And, of course, wrapping up with the Stay Hot locks. But before we get into that, how are you guys doing? Matt, I'll throw to you. See, you're drinking a fancy LaCroix over there.
Yeah, I don't know how you pronounce it, the limoncello. Have you guys had this one? Not the regular lemon one?
I don't drink LaCroix, so.
It's top tier, man. It's okay. You'll get there. I also got like the peach strawberry ones. I'd never seen those before. Those are pretty good too. So when you go to Aldi, you never know what you're going to get in terms of like their limited LaCroix selection. And they hit on some bangers this time, so I'm pretty pumped about that. Outside of that, yeah, I'm all Aldi 100%. What do you guys do?
Some good stuff.
I'll go between Trader Joe's and King Soopers usually. Trader Joe's because it's cheap. Yeah. King Soopers because it has everything. My girlfriend will go to Natural Grocers sometimes, and it has some good stuff as well. Especially, they got like the nuts and berries on lock at King Soopers.
Tom Brady diet, yeah.
They got the nuts and berries, the dried mango. If you need any of that,
dried
Natural Grocers is a place to be.
Goes crazy. How are you doing, Theo?
I'm doing pretty well. Not too much to report.
Fair enough.
Nice. I feel you on that.
A very sad clip of Anthony Richardson today on Twitter.
I thought it was just so funny. It was one where Montez Sweat bull rushed his right tackle and like grabbed onto him, and you would think that Anthony Richardson had a perfectly clean pocket because he just continued to stand there like nothing was happening really, and like Montez Sweat was like dragging him around, and he just was like had the ball ready to throw downfield, like just eyes downfield, and he just is like not reacting to the very immediate pressure, and then he throws it. The ball gets tipped because he threw it in like a very crowded pocket, and it went right to a defensive tackle for a pick, and they ended up calling it forward progress. Like it was just a sack. But I just thought it was a hilarious play because I enjoy how Richardson just light work, no reaction every time there's like
it really
literally
looks like
somebody
a
grabbing
kid,
onto
like
him,
hanging onto your legs.
He does not care. So I like that trait, but I obviously don't like the bring the ball back in pressure and throw an interception part of it.
He's such a funny watch sometimes. It's like it'll be the greatest throw you've ever seen, and then immediately after the worst throw you've ever seen.
Everything before the throw looks so beautiful, and then the throw happens, and you're like, uh-oh, that's the important part.
I'm getting cooked on Twitter right now because of a reply I made under a Matt tweet, because Matt was talking about
what
his
LaCroix,
and I was saying, he's like, oh, but look at my breakfast. And it was a picture of toaster waffles, bacon, hash browns, and yogurt. And people were saying that me eating Yoplait in the year 2024 as a grown man is like a sin, and I don't get it. Am I missing something? What's wrong?
When they came for cowtails, you said nothing. because you didn't eat cowtails.
No, bro. This is yogurt we're talking about. Yogurt is yogurt, is it not? Like,
I don't know. If they say it's a childish yogurt, I'm inclined to agree with the mob here. If you had a Go-Gurt there, would you not think it's childish? Obviously, it's possible for yogurt to be childish.
Sure, but like,
I don't see the problem with eating Yoplait, Blaiden. I really don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I might get Yoplait and put some chocolate chips in there. I'm ready to face the woke mob.
This is saying that you need to like have some Oikos Greek yogurt. That's fake woke.
You do.
Fake woke. But
sorry,
I digress. I just wanted your guys' opinion on that. I'm glad Theo at least agrees with me. You've had Wendy's nugs dipped in sauce, but have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're really a heat seeker, try spicy ghost pepper. Only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. I dare ya. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs you already love. Pick a flavor, grab some extra napkins, and prepare to nug like you've never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's gotta be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's locations. But let's get into some NFL football. Finish off our Week 3 recap a little bit. Watching Monday Night Football, kind of a shocker to watch Washington beat up on the Cincinnati Bengals for like 2.5 quarters, and the Bengals start to crawl back a little bit. Couldn't quite get it done. I think I want to start with the Bengals defense. We'll get into Daniels in a minute, but the Bengals defense to me looks maybe worse than I thought it was going to be in the preseason. The corner play is an absolute disaster. They can't get pressure rushing 4, so they can't play any zone, so they blitz a lot, and well, they don't blitz a lot, but like they had to blitz in some key situations, and they gave up like obviously the big touchdown to Terry McLaurin because they had Terry one-on-one with Dax Hill, and that's just like the worst matchup you could possibly envision in that situation. So it's just like I don't, and I'm seeing Bengals fans turn on Lou Anarumo, and to an extent it's like I don't know what he's supposed to do because the guys on the field just can't play. Like, they really just don't have any juice at this point, it feels like. I don't know where you guys stand on this, but that's kind of how I feel right now.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they've invested heavily in the secondary, and it just has not panned out. Like, they just haven't hit. And, you know, I know they have injuries at defensive tackle, and that messed things up, but it's hard not to miss DJ Reader right now. You know, the guys that they've lost, they've just failed to replace. And I think you can't blame Anarumo when the talent is just not at the level for it to be competitive right now. Dax Hill, just not the level that he needed to be. I mean, even ignoring the big catch that Terry had on him where, you know, they needed him to hold up and he didn't. There's other plays where, you know, he's got to play way off Noah Brown and he's still getting cooked, you know. Even when it seems like he's lined up with the ability to stop what Noah Brown's trying to do, he doesn't do it. And then, of course, if you have to play way off, Washington's going to throw, you know, is going to try to expose that. They're going to throw out a screen and get you to be aggressive and try to play downhill. That's what they want you to do. So it's just difficult. And then Cam Taylor-Britt, you know, also got burnt on a bad deep ball too. You just can't afford that. Give Daniels credit. I don't want to turn it.
Also,
yeah, give Daniels credit. You know, like his deep balls looked like fantastic in this game. Obviously, the one at the end of the game to McLaurin where he got crushed and still delivered that was awesome. But for the most part, they look really, really good. But at the same time, the Bengals corners like just not the level that they need to be, and their pass rush was abysmal this game. So you're not going to win games like that ever. Their defense is way too bad for them to be competitive. And not only is it like tough for the offense to overcome, it's what made them good, like we've said, when they went to the Super Bowl. And now it's a weakness.
Yeah. I mean, they're paying for the sins of back-to-back off seasons of losing their best player on defense. You lose Jesse Bates who the Falcons definitely don't regret bringing in and paying. You lose DJ Reader, and now you've got so many injuries along the defensive line. I mean, it's just like a complete disaster. And even like they had Awuzie, and I know he had his injuries, but like if he were healthy and on the field, at least that would be like at least a solid corner to have. And now they don't even have him. And again, I get he was hurt, and I get Reader had his injuries, but man, it's just hard to imagine the way that they've handled this defense that it ends up looking better. I guess the question stands, like, what is the path for them getting better going forward?
Drafting better. That's it. It's like they just have to draft better. They haven't replaced any of the talent that they've lost. They haven't added any new playmaker to that defense whatsoever. They're not going to go and spend big money, which is fine. And to some extent, like we've said, every team like them in their position is going to deal with that. But they are going to be affected by it worse, and they have done less than they need to replace the talent that they've lost. It's that simple. Their defense is point blank just not running back anybody like new, not bringing in any other game changer, not like morphing into something different. It's just a worse version of what it once was. That's it. And it's not going to work.
No, it's not going to work. And you can't talk about the Jaden Daniels performance without acknowledging how bad the defense was.
Right, that's why I wanted to start with the defense.
I mean, he played good, but the first 2 weeks of the season, I was like, okay, he really is not managing the pocket that great in weeks 1 and 2 against the Giants. I thought, you didn't really see him step up much. You didn't really see him keep his eyes downfield. He was very accurate. Like, he had good traits. He could scramble right. He was doing enough to win the game, but he still kind of had that flaw. And then this week, I was on a hike, to be honest, during this game. And I check my phone when we're back at the car, and I see the stat line. And I'm like, either Jaden Daniels had the biggest jump from week 2 to week 3 in history, or the Bengals pass rush is completely non-existent and having the worst game of all time. And so then I go home, I check the film, and I realize that the Bengals pass rush was worse than I could have ever imagined. I mean, you double Trey Hendrickson, right?
Yeah.
No one else can get push. No one else can land a move. No one else can get within 5 yards of Jaden Daniels. Like, it is legitimately atrocious. Like, Sam Hubbard on the other side getting one-on-ones with Andrew Wiley the whole night. I mean, I don't know if he had a single rep that you could chart as a win. The defensive linemen on the interior, I don't know if they have any reps that you can count as like a win. Trey Hendrickson even was kind of off his game when he was one-on-one. He had one win, a sack when he went inside. But other than that, like, I thought he was pretty quiet. And it's a problem. Their pass rush win rate in this game was below 10%. It was at 9%. The Atlanta Falcons pass rush win rate this year is dead last in the league. They're at 23% pass rush win rate. So to be in the single digits, I don't know if I've seen a game like it before in terms of just how toothless it was. And Lou Anarumo isn't really a guy who likes to blitz. I mean, there's your answer. Right. If you can't get pressure rushing 4, you got to rush 5. But you talked about it, Matt. They blitzed at the end of the game. Jaden Daniels was under pressure there, sure. But Dax Hill was one-on-one with Terry McLaurin, and he couldn't hang. And Terry McLaurin blew by him. Jaden Daniels delivered a really nice throw. And, of course, the Ohio State receiver, was able to track it and make the catch in tight coverage. There's just no formula that works for you if you're the Bengals defense. I mean, they're better off rushing 3 every play if they're not going to get pressure doing anything else. Like, might as well.
Just drop 8 every play, quarters coverage, just do it every single play.
That or calling Gage 8 every single time. I mean, they would have been better off. That's basically
what they did on that Terry McLaurin touchdown. Was they just kind of sent everyone, and they were like, everyone else one-on-one, and just hope. And McLaurin hit him with like a stutter move, and Dax was lost, and that was it. Mm-hmm. I find it interesting though. You talk about McLaurin. You talk about Daniels and his pocket presence and how he handles pressure in the first couple of weeks. I saw a lot of people be like, "Oh, because I posted that clip and I was like, I don't know if I don't want to see Dax Hill one-on-one with Terry McLaurin ever again. I never want to see that. And people were like, I love stay hot, but if Daniels had been sacked there, what would you guys have said? You would have been like, all you have to do is blitz him.
I mean,
but if you watch, as soon as the ball is snapped, and he did this a couple of times, when the Bengals would show man looks, he immediately he just flipped to, I'm throwing to this guy. And he just let it fly, kind of no matter what. Both times that he had Terry McLaurin one-on-one on a deep ball, he just took it.
As he should. As he should.
Right.
Cam Taylor-Britt is slow. Dax Hill is going to bite on the double move. Yeah. I think that Daniels is off to a very good start so far this year. I mean, the first 2 weeks he was pretty limited in what he was doing, but at least he's accurate, right? It's a trait. We could talk about Anthony Richardson, right? And guys that we believed in the draft maybe more or push agendas on more. They have certain strengths and they have certain weaknesses. And with Richardson, we say everything looks beautiful maybe before the throw, and then the throw is really ugly. With Daniels, it's a different issue. It's, the pocket management is always great, but when he does get a throw off, he has been completely on the money all year. Even if it's a short throw, he hasn't really aired it out until this game. He's got his limitations. I'm not ready to fully walk back on all my criticism of him. He's off to a good start though. But I wouldn't take him over Caleb and May. I'm not ready to undo that take, but you can build a certain. I mean, you got to give him some credit, right? He's done a nice job, but there's still more that I want to see on a consistent level before I start walking everything back. I guess
I want to see him be able to, kind of operate in an offense where he does have to face a little bit of he's not going to face the Bengals every week where the corners are horrible and he doesn't face any pressure. Mm-hmm. Right. So, when you're facing a defense that's able to get pressure and, the secondary is able to hang up and you're not just able to kind of pick apart or not even pick apart, just kind of wait for your guy to get open in the zone, settle in open space in a Tampa 2 look. When you don't have to do that, I want to see him be able to just kind of execute through his reads a little bit. That's something I feel like we haven't seen. Mm-hmm. And even in the last game, it felt like I think it was all but 6 of his throws were to the right side of the field. Mm-hmm. Right. So I want to see a little bit more diversity in that aspect. And again, we want to see an actual example of good pocket presence.
I agree with the pocket presence stuff. I do think there's some times where he's getting through full reads in the game. I mean, I can think of a couple of throws there's a couple. But he's I also see him just he had a throw to your guy
30 seconds.
That throw to McCaffrey that he had that went for 30 yards, that was a good play.
That was a good play. He stared down McCaffrey though. He the end zone angle, he's following McCaffrey the whole way.
I'll have to go back and check on that. I think that I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that.
The ball snaps, his eyes immediately dart over to that side, and then he just kind of follows up that crosser. It was a good throw.
It's on Pratt, right? It's McCaffrey and trips in the inside, and he runs across the field.
He slips behind Jermaine Pratt.
And then he eventually slips behind.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great route by McCaffrey to kind of find the space, and then, or Daniels was able to hit him. And, it was a great throw because Pratt was still kind of in position. But as soon as McCaffrey slipped behind him, it was the dude's lost now.
I agree that Daniels hasn't hit, a bunch of high caliber throws so far this year, but the one to McLaurin was very high level, and that was to win a game. So it's more than you can say for the other rookie quarterbacks validly. But at the same time, it's fair to, I think, say, I don't know. I haven't really seen many Daniels takes. I haven't really seen anybody rank him anywhere post the game. I think
guess
everybody
that's fair.
like loves the
I
performance.
saw a
that he
few
had.
loose Twitter takes where it's like you have to take him over Caleb now.
Yeah,
I forget
saw
who
that.
this was from.
Kevin Cole said that if you did a redraft, you'd take him over Caleb. I don't agree with that, but
Yeah.
he doesn't look like a mistake. I'll go that far so far. So
Yeah.
he played well, but I think that it is also fair to want to see more from him. But that's true of all the rookie quarterbacks, and it's true of a lot of the second-year quarterbacks as well, and even some of the third and fourth-year quarterbacks, right? You'd like to see a little bit more from a lot of players that have come
Any
through.
off the top of your head, Theo?
Like all of them except for Stroud, pretty much, in the last 4 years.
Yeah. Need to see a little bit more from Ritter.
A little bit more from Ritter. You would like to see him maybe pick up a pen, sign a contract.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Well,
The Bengals are screwed, though. I mean, that was my biggest takeaway from the game. Like, Daniels looked good. The offense, I think the line looks better than I thought in Washington. Like, it all looks like things are okay there, but my number one main takeaway was like this defense for the Cincinnati Bengals is going to sink them. It's like when the Saints were ranked number 32 with Drew Brees. Like even Drew Brees couldn't overcome that. It went 7-9 a couple years in his prime because of how bad the defense was. And it's like, I don't think Joe Burrow is as good as Drew Brees, but he's still pretty good, and he's not going to be able to you're just years of his prime are now kind of down the drain, it feels like, or at least this season is down the drain because of how bad the defense is.
and we'll talk about the Steelers in a little bit. See where kind of maybe we'll give like a loose prediction on where we think the AFC North could play out. But let's talk about the Buffalo performance first. I was at my grandparents' house when this game started, and I just remember I checked my phone and I was like, dude, why is Josh Allen having like the greatest game of all time right now? That might be another, well, first of all, we'll say just with the Bills and Josh Allen. Theo, I know you said that you think the Bills have to be considered the top team in power rankings right now. Outside of obviously Allen's amazing, what else are you seeing that makes you kind of lean into that take?
The defense. If we could vote for all pro, like right now, after just 3 weeks, I'd vote Christian Benford first team all pro. That guy has been completely locked down. Rasul Douglas on the other side just looks like a fantastic corner duo. The front four has been fantastic. Greg Rousseau looks like he's taken maybe even a bit of a step from where he was last year. Super disruptive. Von Miller is looking very back this season. They have been able to play nickel pretty much all the time, even without Taron Johnson, and play too high and remain an average to above average run defense in terms of success rate and EPA. They have allowed maybe some more yards and more yards per carry than you'd like to see, but the way they play defense, like you'll take the numbers that they have put forward, and a lot of those runs are, not actually successful plays, even if they're breaking off some yardage. And when you look at who they have beaten, right? They beat the Cardinals, they beat the Dolphins, they beat the Jaguars. These are all quarterbacks who are paid. All right, these are all teams who had some playoff aspirations heading into the year. Now, a lot of them have kind of collapsed. But when you look at some of the other 3-0 teams, I think the Vikings have beat some really admirable opponents. But I'm not ready to put them over the Bills. But then the other 3-0 teams, like the Steelers, they've beaten some, rookies and some poor offenses, I think, and the Chiefs haven't quite looked up to caliber, I'd say. Like, I don't know who you would put above the Bills. I assume you guys agree with me.
Yeah, through 3 games, I'm 100% on board. I mean, Allen is playing like he's finally going to get that MVP through 3 games, which I'm rooting for. He's just been ridiculous. And then I agree, the defense, we were worried it was going to take a step back where it was going to land. But then playing like this without Milano is crazy, and they're going to get him back at some point. He's not out for the year. Von Miller coming back, I mean, I so easily assumed that, okay, that was probably it for Miller, and, maybe he'd come back and do whatever because his contract is huge. But he's got like 3 sacks to start the year already. And if you had told me he was going to see another 3 sacks all year, I'd be like, all right, yeah, that's probably about what I expect. So I agree completely. They've done a great job reloading when things seem incredibly bleak. But it's also fair to say that the Jaguars are just unacceptably bad.
Yep.
And
That was
offensively, they've never been a powerhouse. They've never really been where they need to be. It's never been easy for them. How many losses in a row is this? 8 for them?
Yep.
It's not acceptable. And you look around, you say, well, they've got one of the highest paid offensive lines in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken. And if not, they're paying several huge contracts. Ingram's paid. Christian Kirk is paid. You got a first overall pick and Brian Thomas, not first overall. Well, you do at quarterback, who's also the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, or one of them. You've got a first round pick receiver and Gabe Davis. So it's an insane amount of investment to go into an offense that can just get completely shut down so easily. And it just feels like they have talent, but nothing is easy for them. There is no core identity of the offense that it's built around. It's like, okay, well, this is what the Jaguars are going to try to do to you, and then anytime you try to counter that, they can expose that counter. It feels like a lot of times it's just up to Lawrence to make something happen. And honestly, dude, his accuracy's been bad. Mm-hmm. And on top of the offense, maybe not winning super easily all the time, because while they have guys who are good, it's maybe not guys who are the most consistent all the time. Ingram's good, not consistent. Kirk been really inconsistent. Gabe Davis notoriously inconsistent. Brian Thomas Jr., rookie who's played 3 games. Right? On top of that, Lawrence is really, really aggressive. And overall, that's a good thing. But I think that can make it tough for an offense that already has consistency issues. And that feels like it really, I don't want to say is the main thing that brings the Jaguars down, but all of those aspects come together. It also, if I had to point the one thing as to why the Jaguars are bad, their offensive line is not that good, and they pay their offensive line a lot of money. And their maneuvering with that this offseason just made no sense.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you about the consistency. They have... It's just so rare that all aspects of a play go correctly, from Lawrence's accuracy to the receivers and their hands to the play call. Right. It's very rare that Lawrence is accurate, the wide receiver doesn't drop it, the play call is good all at the same time. Sometimes each one of those things happen, but far too often there's one critical failed component. When Lawrence is on, the wide receivers are dropping passes. When the wide receivers run the right route, it seems like Trevor Lawrence delivers the overthrow. And the plays that they're calling just aren't good plays in the first place. It's just a mess consistently. I thought that these past 2 weeks, I didn't really watch them too much. Week 1, the routes themselves have been bad. I feel like this one was very much a run vertically for a couple yards and then just turn around and look at Lawrence type of game. And these breaks aren't even necessarily happening when Lawrence is hitting the top of his drop. It just doesn't really feel synced. And I think that Doug Peterson is about to get fired. I really think that they're in a death spiral right now. It was looking pretty rough with the Browns last week. I was saying it that I think they're really unprepared to go and beat the Bills in prime time. I think everybody's going to see how bad it is, and that's exactly what happened. I think that there's trust broken between coach and quarterback, and I just think the whole thing is a mess and probably on its way out if they can't figure things out versus the Houston Texans. Because if the Texans beat them badly, I really think the owner Khan will pull the trigger and fire Peterson, from what I've heard. And Lawrence deserves some blame. You're totally right, Matt. His accuracy these past 2 weeks has been just bad. I think his pocket presence has regressed. At one point in the Bills game, he just like did a spin in the pocket for no reason and then took a sack. It's like, what was that? I didn't like there. I don't think that he's the main problem there. I'm still on that train, but it's gotten to the point where it's like something needs to change, and it's. We'll see if they bench him for Mac Jones or something like that. If Peterson says like, look, it's not me. Look, it's the quarterback, and tries to get something out of that. I have no idea what'll happen in the desperate moments here.
A little bit.
I think it's going to be some desperate moments here, but I think at the end of the day, Peterson and Press Taylor just have not been really leading a good outfit. I don't think they've had good game plans. I don't think they've looked organized. I don't think that the receivers have looked like they've known what they're doing for their entire time there. Like Lawrence has his share of problems right now, but I think they could benefit from a coaching change at this point.
An interesting stat that I noticed on the Jaguars is you look at some of the rushing stats from this year, and a lot of the teams near the bottom of the rushing attempts so far this year, like you've got the Raiders, the Bengals, the Cowboys, the Jaguars are fourth to last in rushing attempts this year. But like the Raiders are getting 2 yards per carry. The Bengals are getting 4.6. The Cowboys are getting 3.6. The Jags are getting 5.4 yards per attempt, and they like don't ever run the ball.
Their run rate was decent going into the game against the Bills. I wonder if they just fell behind early and that ruined everything, because that wasn't the case going into this Bills game.
Okay, yeah, that was just something that I noticed like earlier today. I was like, that is really weird.
The stat that really stands out to me about the Jaguars this year, their sack rate. I mentioned this on a few podcasts ago. It's just really high. It's at 9.7% right now. Last year was at 6.1. The year before that, 4.7. The year before that, 4.8. Like Lawrence's pocket presence has always been really good, I thought, and his sack avoidance has always been really good. This year, it's really bad.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I was looking at it today. I mean, he's among the worst in pressure to sack rate, or right up, I think, somewhere in the mid 20s. Josh Allen, for the record, is first. Or last, however you want to look at it, 6.2% pressure to sack rate. That is crazy.
He's the best at it, man. There's just nothing. It's it's like having. It's a better benefit than any offensive lineman you could have when, like, you can win up front as a defense, and it hardly even matters with Josh Allen, because you can get 10 pressures and you'd be lucky to get them once. Like, that is crazy.
Yeah, that is nuts.
Sacked twice in 3 games and no turnovers. That's pretty good. If he can keep his interception number single digits, I think he's got a really good chance at MVP. And even if it goes double digits, I don't think that like screws him. But if people could look at it as like, this is the year he didn't turn the ball over a ton, you know, because last year he had like 18, which is a lot.
I mean, dude, if we're talking about like name notoriety, right? So the other guys that are like high up there in quarterback stats, because I assume we're all like assuming that a quarterback is going to win the award. It's like Darnold, Derek Carr, Baker, like those are the guys that are putting up big numbers right now this year at the quarterback position. Mahomes isn't really in there right now. He's got 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions through 3 games.
I think a lot of it's going to come down to the counting stats, and I think with how the Chiefs' offense is right now, it's really, really tough for him to keep pace with Allen, because they just don't win deep a lot. They haven't been hitting that stuff a ton. And with the other guys, like, I don't want to disrespect anybody, but like, they're just not on Josh Allen's level. And I think as the season goes on, like, that will show itself. So yeah, I think Allen's, it's 3 games in. He's got a really good shot at it this year, though, with how things are shaping up, at least immediately.
I think he'd be the favorite right now.
I'm voting for Benford
for MVP.
Fair.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you look at the EPA per dropback numbers, it's either Allen winning it or it's Jaden Daniels or Sam Darnold or Derek Carr through the first 3 weeks of the season. So Allen probably seems like the safest guy to bet on there, unless you want to go a different direction and vote for, Benford or Josh Metellus or
Yeah,
something like that.
All right, hotties, it's officially the best time of the year. Football is back. We're talking NFL Sundays, college football Saturdays, and the glorious grind of fantasy football. This is where your inner GM shines, setting the perfect lineup, making those last-minute waiver moves, and riding that high or low in the group chat. But while you're fine-tuning your fantasy roster, don't let your personal grooming fall off like an injured star player. Nobody wants to fumble their grooming routine. That's where Manscaped's Performance Package 5.0 Ultra comes in. Your ultimate grooming playbook. From keeping things sharp with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra to taking care of rogue nose and ear hairs with the Weed Whacker 2.0. This lineup will have you looking and feeling like an MVP on and off the field. Now, guys, speaking from experience, there's nothing worse than a bad trimming session. Trust me, I've been there, and Manscaped has totally changed the game for me. Their Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is like having a franchise player in your grooming routine. Precise, efficient, and always reliable. Plus, with the Crop Smoother Ball Aftershave and Crop Preserver Anti-Chafing Deodorant, you'll stay fresh and comfortable through every quarter of your day. Join over 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get 20% off plus free shipping with the code STAYHOT at manscaped.com. That's 20% plus free shipping at manscaped.com when you use the code STAYHOT, all one word. Get your grooming game ready for kickoff. What is up, hotties? You know that when it comes to NFL football, Stay Hot has you covered. But who do you turn to when you need to make smart financial decisions? If your answer is our sponsor, NerdWallet, then you're absolutely right. And if it's not, then allow me to change your mind, because not only have they spent thousands of hours researching and reviewing over 1,300 financial products, but they have the tools you need to make smarter financial decisions. Looking for a credit card? Go beyond the basic comparisons. Filter for features that matter to you and read in-depth reviews. Ready to choose a high-yield savings account? Get access to exclusive deals and compare rates, bonuses, and more. House hunting? View today's top mortgage rates for your new home sweet home. So while Stay Hot is your go-to resource for NFL football, make the Nerds your go-to resource for smart financial decisions. Head to nerdwallet.com/learn more. NerdWallet. Finance smarter. Disclaimer, NerdWallet Compare Inc. NMLS 1617539. Anyway, let's talk about the Steelers and the Chargers. We've been getting lots of comments saying, why don't you guys talk about the Steelers?
I thought we did talk about the Steelers.
Did
recently.
I not say they had a 98% chance to make the playoffs last episode?
Well, you did.
Yeah, but we haven't spent like a full segment on the Steelers, it feels like.
Yeah.
So all the comments are saying Stay Hot Steelers hate is showing.
I'll just keep it real. Fields is still like only throwing completely underneath. His passing chart is like everything like 8 yards and closer. I think that gives him a pretty hard ceiling on how good they can be. People have been saying like, oh, Fields has really won the starting job, and like it's against Wilson, so like fair enough. I'm pro Fields, like I've said before. Mm-hmm. But let's not get it twisted that is a product of like him like balling out or the offense being good. It hasn't been good. It's been bad, and the defense has made it happen versus bad defenses or bad offenses. And they deserve credit for that. I think the Steelers' defense is really, really good. I think TJ Watt is ridiculous. Like, he had a sack and another almost sack. Or maybe I think it got called a holding against Alt, where, you know, he was just so quick off the line, like there was not much that Alt could do. Like, he's ridiculous. But what am I supposed to think about the Steelers like long term? Exactly, like for the end of this year, I'm supposed like that they'll get into the playoffs and go on a big run. I just have a really, really hard time seeing it.
I think that their defense does deserve a lot of credit. I do think they can win games like that. They get in their bare front, 7 people or 7 big bodies in the box, right? And it's just tough to deal with. I think Cameron Hayward is having a real bounce back season. Last year he missed most of it and wasn't super effective when he was in. And with how old he is, I was like, I don't know if he has much left in him. And then this year he's completely balling. Benton, Ogunjobi, Highsmith, Watt, Herbig had a fantastic game off the bench. Roberts, Queen, Peyton Wilson off the bench, like Minka Fitzpatrick rotating down. Even Dante Jackson hasn't really been a weakness for them at all this year. He's actually been pretty good. So this defense, like if he's not going to be a major problem, and if that cornerback 2 spot looks okay, then yeah, it's a very, very complete defense that'll give everybody problems. But you're right, Matt. The offense, they have been well, first of all, you're right that the defense hasn't really played anybody too tough. The Chargers maybe would have been tough if all their best players didn't get hurt in the crucial moments, right, in the second half.
Even then, I think the Chargers are fighting a pretty big uphill battle because the Steelers' defense is good enough to just load up the box, put 5 big bodies on the line, and then all of a sudden, like, Herbert throwing isn't so much as a counter or like, we got you now that you're overcommitted to the run. It's like, it's been really, really tough for them to get things going. And then Herbert goes down, and then it's like, okay, well then they're really one-dimensional.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't believe Herbert played that game with a high ankle sprain at all.
Completely unreal.
Right.
But my question is, like, just how much different are these Steelers than the Steelers we've seen in the past? Like, they're 3-0 right now. That's great. They're the 1 seed in the AFC through 3 weeks. That's great. They can win rock fights. That's great. That's what they've been the past 2 years, and then they've been first rounded in the playoffs extremely easily, and we're like, damn, I wish someone else got that spot who could actually beat a high-powered attack or win a shootout potentially. Are the Steelers that team this year? Can they go toe-to-toe with some of the top teams in the league and look like they belong and look like they can not only make the playoffs but like make some noise in there? I have not seen that from the Steelers yet. As feisty as they've been, as much promise as some aspects of the team has shown, they haven't been a great rushing offense as much as they try. Broderick Jones is a gigantic liability on the right side of that line, and they can't replace him now with Fautanu because Fautanu's on IR with like a knee injury after just being in there for like a couple snaps and looking good, but now he's gone. Zach Frazier is looking nice, their center, but overall I think they're not doing a great job climbing to the second level on their run blocks. I feel like there's just always kind of a free hitter there to wrap up Najee or Warren or whoever. So even with Fields, their run offense hasn't ranked super, super highly, and then Pickens is the only receiver who can really do anything. There's some nice things. Fields has developed a little bit as a passer, it feels like, or at least he's changed his identity to getting the ball out faster. He's been more accurate. He's taken less sacks. He's overall been more successful, even if he's been less explosive. So I like that aspect of them. I like how Pickens is playing. I like some of the blocking pieces they have, but the overall sum of everything, like, it still seems kind of limited.
I'm looking at the rest of their schedule, and it's starting to feel very much like the 11-0 Steelers that went on to lose every game after that. Listen to this. They play Indianapolis. The way Richardson's been playing, they might win. They probably will win that game. They then play Dallas, who has the worst run defense ever. And they're kind of one-dimensional on offense as well. Then they play the Raiders. Then they play the Jets. Maybe they lose to the Jets because the Jets have been kind of getting better week in, week out. Then they play the Giants, then the Commanders. And then it goes Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Browns, Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals. Which, the way the Bengals have been playing, they might win both of those. But
right. I see
the
what
rest
you're
of those
saying.
games are like, it's like an absolute dogfight, the final, like, 8 games of the season. And going into that, it's like, dude, this is pretty an easy start to the year.
They're 3-0 already. The AFC North all of a sudden doesn't look so tough. They've had success against the Ravens in the past. Like, why can't they win a lot of games and make the playoffs? But it's like, if they play the Bills like they did last year, like, what's going to happen to them?
Right.
But what's going to happen to any team, I guess.
That's my feeling on it as well. I do think that they're going to end the season hitting, like, they're over on wins compared to the start of the year. And I think their defense is particularly good. They've had a good defense for a while, but I think this might be like one of the better versions of it. But offensively, I just don't think that they're different from any other previous year. I think that's the perfect way to put it.
Yep.
And I really don't even feel like Fields has developed a ton as a passer. I think he's just sort of like made the decision that instead of attempting to make the tough throws and add that into his game, he's going to focus more on getting the ball out quick and not turning it over, which for the situation that he's in now makes sense.
It's a development, but is it the best? It's kind of low ceiling development.
Yeah, it's as far as
right. It's exactly. Whereas when he was with the Bears, it's like, well, we're thinking more about like 2 seasons from now. So if you make those throws and make interceptions, like that's okay, even if it doesn't win us games right this moment. He's not in that situation at all with the Steelers. I mean, he's played well, but he's a bad game and a half away from getting benched for Wilson, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just a totally different style of ball rather than an improvement, in my opinion. And while it works for getting them to the playoffs and not having a losing record, I think it might be tough for like being competitive in the AFC playoffs.
Yep, I agree. We'll see. Maybe Fields can get comfortable and then grow from there, but there definitely still needs to be more growth from him. This is not the final form of Fields that you envisioned before the draft, even if it's a little better, right? So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's the Steelers conversation. All Steelers fans, you can now be happy and satisfied. Stay Hot has talked about the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I think that's kind of all we wanted to hit on from the remaining games of Week 3. So looking ahead to Week 4, we've got to take a look at some of the storylines that we're kind of most interested in, get a little bit of preview going. Matt, I'll throw to you first. What are you most looking forward to, or what are you most interested in coming into the week?
Well, I'd say I'm mostly interested in some of the quarterback narratives in terms of like guys who are really struggling. And maybe that's boring, but like the Watson sack stuff and how long of a leash he gets with his contract is super entertaining to me, going up against a Raiders defense that can get pressure. But it's not just him. I think Anthony Richardson's accuracy, this is probably one that's going to be the case every week, but now it's really laser focused. And now it's like, okay, this is the problem. How does it get better? And every week it's going to be heavily scrutinized. I could honestly say the same thing for Caleb Williams, who is missing some deep balls that he needs to hit. I do think that since we saw that connect a couple of times, maybe there's more faith there. Yeah. And I think you could see like a quicker turnaround with like him and Adunze as a connection really starting to come together. Not to say that I don't think Richardson could get it, but Richardson could be a little bit more of a slow burn. And it's a little bit more on everything with Richardson, whereas as Caleb, it's like you've got to be able to hit these big plays for this to work. There's still going to be some problems with that offense, but you've got to be able to hit those. And then I want to see, it might be that the receivers are still out in Philadelphia, and that just makes everything really tough. But I do want to see how the Eagles develop and Hurts develops. So just like not shooting themselves in the foot, not turning the ball over a ton, not making bad fourth down decisions, because I really believe that they can improve as the season goes on and clean up mistakes and not do that type of stuff. Now, it's possible that they're poorly coached and that never comes around, but I think their ceiling is incredibly high as like a contender to come out of the NFC. I really do. So, That's one of the big things I'm watching. So I'd say those 4 guys are the ones that I'm most interested in.
Mm-hmm. I would say the Vikings-Packers game is
very fair.
A very interesting one for me. You've got Jordan Love potentially coming back this week. You've got the Vikings, who look like, I said the Bills are the clear number 1. The Vikings might be number 2, though, from what we've seen so far, which seems shockingly high considering how I viewed them before the season, but I don't know what else there is to say at this point. But the Packers, at the same time, I think they deserve, if we're doing power rankings, a top 10 spot. They barely lost to an Eagles team that is very good, or they had their chances. It was a competitive game against an Eagles team that I think everybody would say is probably top 10-ish at this point, or definitely top 10, I'd say. And then with Malik Willis, I don't think it's getting enough credit how they've been able to go 2-0 with what many would have considered the worst backup situation in the league before Jordan Love went down. The fact that LaFleur was able to kind of patch something together and generate the run game that he's generated, it's kind of just come and gone now, and the Packers just got two crucial wins just kind of out of nowhere, and now Jordan Love is coming back. The defense ranks top 3 in havoc rate. Yes, the man coverage is a little bit dicey, but Jair Alexander has made his share of plays these past 2 weeks. I think it's been working as intended. Like Xavier McKinney looks like a ball hawk. So I think the Packers are ready to make a statement if Love is playing well. It's just, can Love play well against this defense? What does Flores have up his sleeve to stop the running game? The Jair versus Justin Jefferson matchup, like I think that game is going to be premier. I think that those are two big contenders in the NFC right now, and it could be for the division. Honestly, I think that the Packers and the Vikings look like the two best teams in it. The Lions are pretty good as well. The Lions are up there too, but the Packers and Vikings and Lions all are the tier 1 teams to watch here in this division, and this could go to determining it. And then Bills Ravens as well, the night game on Sunday. That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, glad we record after Sunday night to talk about that one. That should be cinema. Matt, I think you make a good point about watching out for like some of the short leashes, bringing up the Browns and Watson. How many sacks is he going to take this week against Vegas? But, we talk about Peterson. Theo, you mentioned they're going against Houston this week. If they get crushed, which they very well could, Houston is another team that looks really, really good, except for last week against the Vikings. But if Jacksonville gets crushed by Houston, like it could be very over for Peterson. Philly's another one. If they end up losing, depending on that by how much, maybe against Tampa Bay. I know they're out their receivers. Sirianni could be getting the leash a little bit. But yeah, I think just kind of the general short leashes is the thing to watch out for. Just kind of as we get further into the season, fans are going to be clamoring more for certain guys to go. Honestly, maybe even the Bengals. I know Bengals fans have, kind of been hot and cold on Zach Taylor for a lot of years. They're getting the Andy Dalton revenge game, man. Their defense looks like the worst ever.
Dude, they're not going to be able to get pressure on Dalton. I mean, they're not. This offensive line for the Panthers isn't actually too bad. I think that Dalton's going to be well.
It's been good through 3 games. Yeah. It's been really good. It's been living up to its paycheck, which was something I really doubted. Give him credit. It's been awesome. Now Damian Lewis is going to be out. He messed up his elbow, I think.
That's okay. Robert Hunt's the GOAT these days.
Robert Hunt's the GOAT. I've been saying that. He's the GOAT.
Big square. I like that build. He's got a good build. He's like just huge.
He does. So I'm quickly buying it now. The Panthers defense is still we'll see. So I think there's some potential where people are going like, actually, I kind of like the Panthers. And then it's disaster. We're crashing the plane. But I do have faith that they could get this one. And if they were 2-2, even for a moment, that'd be something sweet. I also have to point out the Monday night games are Titans versus Miami, and then it's Seahawks Lions. And I'm wondering which one the viewers will tune into.
So we've got the greatest and the worst games of all time at the same time.
We've got it's a pretty big disparity.
The Seahawks are going to blow the doors off the Lions. The Titans and Dolphins will be a 6-3 nail biter.
No, it's good. Titans Dolphins is going to be 24-6, but there's going to be 2 pick sixes and 3 safeties.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right about that.
That's how it's going to go down.
If the Seahawks go 4-0 and beat the Lions, we will be having a conversation.
Oh, we will be having a conversation.
We
That's
won't be
another team we
discussing
haven't
shit.
really gotten to have a conversation on too heavily. But yeah, this is going to be narrative ball. This is the stay hot battle of Seattle versus Detroit right now.
I have faith. Good old. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. Seattle dominating the Broncos, the Patriots, and then the two-less Dolphins. It moves me severely. But I still like my good old Lions somehow. And I'm hitting them with the I'm afraid, if this is the sides that we're picking.
Mike McDonald is going to have goof in the walls of Jericho, I'm afraid.
We're going to get...
maybe I'll lock it.
You'll lock Seattle over 3.5 point favorite.
No,
Detroit.
I need a point. I might take one lock this week. I need a point.
I feel you, man. It's been tough. That's how it is early in the year.
Bro, when the Rams beating the 49ers is so lame. The 49ers letting me down twice in a row against the wide receiverless Rams and the Vikings. Just,
yeah, man.
You can't make this up.
Maybe we need to have a conversation about the 49ers here pretty soon. I don't know.
I don't think so. I think Debo being hurt, McCaffrey, we'll see if he comes back. I mean, McCaffrey might, who knows when McCaffrey will come back, but they obviously haven't been great, but I do think that they've just kind of run into, like, that they didn't look that bad last week. They didn't look concerning last week to me.
They didn't look concerning
Stafford
last week at all.
looked like super great, and they can't have Ronnie Bell on the field in crucial moments going forward.
Yeah.
I think if they have Debo, they win that one.
Well, they play the Patriots this week, so
if they lose, I'll be concerned. Yeah.
If they lose to New England, then it's time to have the 49ers conversation. But let's get into the stay hot locks here. Matt, as usual, I will have you give the stay hot locks description.
We draft different teams to lock, guarantee that they win. You get 1 point for every team that you draft, and you get correct. However, because they're locks, you have to get all of the games that you pick correct to get any points. So if I lock 3 teams, I only get 2 right, I get 0 points. I don't get 2 points. This means that there's some strategy in how many games that you want to pick. It's also a snake draft, so whoever picks first then, has to come back all the way around to them to make it a little bit more fair. Ties are nulls. They don't mean anything. So if I pick 3 games, 2 wins and a tie, I get 2 points. And if somebody else picks a game and you're like, I disagree, I think the other team will win, you can challenge them, and that is worth 2 points.
Okay.
Are you still
so far
winning,
we've had
Blaiden?
I am still winning. So last week I locked the Buccaneers and the Seahawks. Things didn't go according to plan with Tampa Bay. Theo locked the Bills and the 49ers. Things didn't go according to plan with the 49ers. Matt locked the Bengals and the Browns. Things did not go according to plan in the state of Ohio.
Either of them.
Yeah. So the current standings, I still have 2 points. Both Matt and Theo still have 0 points. So I guess I will go first again. But at this point, I'm scared to pick a lock because I don't know what I know anymore.
This is a tough week too.
It is a tough week, and I just got a notification that Herbert's been a limited participant in practice today.
Alt is out though, and
Alt
Slater
is out too.
I think has a pec injury.
Like, okay, I want to pick San Francisco over New England, but again, it's just like, again, Theo, like, you've picked them back-to-back weeks and they've let you down. So I think I'm going to take Kansas City over the Chargers.
Okay.
Chargers are banged up. They just lost to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Chiefs still look great. They're not perfect offensively, but their defense is good. And the offense is still, they have Mahomes. So I'll take the Chiefs. And then I don't know who wants to go next, but
I'll go next because I didn't get 2 wrong last week. How about that?
Fair enough.
I see the vision with your Chargers pick here, or your Chiefs pick against the Chargers. Although I will say the Chargers have always seemed to play the Chiefs like kind of closely in the Herbert area. Herbert is like 1-6 against them, or like 2-5 or something like that. But I feel like the margin of the losses is always like
also,
a point or two.
We were at Chiefs Chargers,
True,
and a couple years ago, and we thought the Chargers were gonna win. Like Herbert outplayed Mahomes in that game, and somehow, some way, Mahomes threw 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter in the final 10 minutes of the game, including a game winner to Kelsey. Was that in overtime?
I think it was.
But it was a walk-off, and then he did the UC celebration. That was awesome.
He knew you were there.
He did.
He liked you before he liked Taylor Swift.
Facts. Big green check mark.
I'll go with the 49ers for the 3rd straight week, even though they've burned me 2 weeks in a row. If the 49ers keep losing games, I'm okay with that as well. So if the jinx here gets me and the 49ers fall to 1-3, I'm still benefiting. I'm still eating as a Packer fan. But I really, after what the Patriots did last week, I guess they're on a long rest, and the 49ers are still kind of banged up. But I still have to go with Mr. Shanahan.
Yeah. I'm going to take the Jets over the Broncos here. It's the biggest spread left. I know the Broncos are coming off a really nice game. I don't mean to disrespect them, but I do think the Jets defense is another level. I think it's going to be pretty tough for Denver. And then personally, I'm going to be out. It's still maybe early in the season. The other options, like as far as big spreads go, is picking against the Giants for the Cowboys. Or I could pick Houston against the Jaguars, which wouldn't be a bad one, but that one just screams like Houston kind of coming off of a stinky game, Jaguars like backs against the wall, like Lawrence finally has a good game, and it's like, okay, bro. They have lost an insane amount of games in a row. But like, I just don't like it.
This will be the one that they finally win.
Right. So it's like, I'm not falling for that. We're like, okay, so now we know that the Jaguars suck. I'm not stupid. I'm not falling for that. No, we're taking the Jets, and then we're going to be out, and we're going to get our 1 point. And I'll honestly probably be closer because, you know what, I like both of you guys to lose. I do.
I'm locking a Blaiden L.
Can we lock?
That's my
again?
Second lock.
I could.
You could just challenge my pick if you want.
I don't.
I'm gonna lock the Texans, though. I'm gonna say they put the nail in Dougie P's coffin, and
if you didn't, Theo, I would have. So
we'll see, and I'll go with my 2. But then I'm gonna be done.
I'll be out. I won't pick another. That was the only other one I was interested in.
Cool.
So, the locks coming into this week, kind of the shortest list of locks that we've had this year. I am taking the Chiefs. Theo is taking the 49ers and the Texans, and Matt is taking the New York Jets. Very, very simple, easy locks. Surely these will all hit. Surely nothing will ruin it for us. Herbert doesn't throw 5 touchdowns and obliterates Patrick Mahomes. Bo Nix doesn't look like the greatest quarterback of all time. I'm trying to think of someone who's like Aaron Rodgers' kryptonite. But I guess Shanahan is just Aaron Rodgers' kryptonite more than anyone else.
I guess so. Hopefully Purdy doesn't stink it up against Mayo and company. They like bracket Ayuk and he has a stinker or something like that. Maybe I could see him struggling kind of like he did versus the Vikings, but
Gonzo has 2 picks and
we'll see.
Yeah, but
Juwan Jennings doesn't have a mega game.
Right. But I feel pretty confident with my pick. I think you guys are probably going to be fine as well. But yeah, those are the Stay Hot locks, and I think that pretty much does it for another episode of Stay Hot. We'll be back to recap Week 4 of the NFL season, as we have done with every week of the NFL season so far, and as we will continue to do for the rest of the NFL season. We're super excited. A lot of great stuff coming your way. But until then, and until next time, thank you all so much for tuning in. It's been an absolute blast, and we will catch you on the flippity flop.